Hi, it's the Red Viking Princess. Yay, another crazy true story. I love these just like you guys do. So, hello everybody out in YouTube land. Hit the subscribe button and the little bell, the little tingly bell. Yes, I'm hot and I'm sweating. The little tingly bell so that you'll actually know when I have more crazy true stories. So, this one I actually hesitated about telling you guys about just because it's almost to the point where it could be unbelievable, but trust me, it actually did happen. You can interview anyone in my family and they will actually concur with you that this happened. I was not in the spot by myself. Like I said, my whole family was there. So I have a lot of witnesses here that can actually attest to the point that this is absolutely the truth. So this happened when I was a little girl. I would say I was probably 6 at the time because my parents divorced when I was 7 and this happened before that. So this happened on a Sunday after church, and my mom and dad decided they would take us all into our car, and we would go up to a couple friend that they had. And I would say that it was maybe an hour or an hour and a half drive. So here we are driving on a Sunday afternoon. It was a really hot day. I remember it was in the summer, so it was probably close to 100 degrees. Not exactly the best day for a drive, but it was okay. So we ended up, we had gone quite a ways, and we were actually in the city where this couple lived, but we weren't quite there yet. And I remember my mom and dad starting to argue about something. So you have to understand, they divorced maybe 6-8 months later. So it wasn't a real happy household, so that they actually were arguing quite a bit. But I remember getting really scared because they were arguing as, you know, my dad was driving the car, and I felt like this is not a good thing. We're on our way to somebody else's house, and embarrassing, not only embarrassing, but it could be a really bad scene. But anyway, they're arguing, and all of a sudden I heard this big popping sound, and my dad started pulling over. So we actually had a flat tire. You could hear the flapping of the tire itself. So my dad pulled over to the curb. So we were in a neighborhood, but we were not to these people's house yet. So you have to get the picture of this. So hot day, pulling over to the curb. We had not even stopped the car yet. My dad had not stopped yet when this old lady came out from her house. So we were parked pretty much right in front of her house. She walked out. Now, this lady, her face, she just was shining. She looked like an old grandma, but she looked like the nicest grandma you'd ever see in your life. And she came out. We all got out of the car, and then my dad, you know, started to fix the flat. So as he was outside doing that, we all walked up as this lady was coming out, and she said to us, "I've been waiting for you." Now, remember, as you grow up, typically your parents will tell you, don't talk to strangers, you know, don't say anything, get away from strangers. We didn't do any of that. So, and my mom was with us. She didn't do that either. This lady, there was something about her where we totally trusted her. She just was shining. She looked like the nicest person ever. So no one said a word to her. We followed her in the house, again, except for my dad, as he was fixing the flat. So you got to get the picture of this. The little house with a nice yard and everything. We walked behind her into the front door. I will never forget the layout of this house. And remember, I was probably 6 at the time. She walked in. As soon as she walked into the foyer, there was kind of a kitchen area there. She had a large table there. The table was set exactly for the number of people that we had, including her. And in the middle of the table was a big plate of cookies that were hot. She had just baked them. And all of the glasses on the table had already been poured. There were drinks in them. So there was milk, I believe, and lemonade maybe for my parents. I didn't pay too much attention to them. And she actually took my hand and she brought me over and into the other part of the kitchen, and she said, I have something for you. I just want to make sure that you don't drink milk because I know you're allergic to milk. Okay, now here's what happened at that time. So I had so many problems with sinus infections, strep throat. I was sick a lot, and I had lost hearing in my ears. I had earaches constantly, and I believe it was from allergies. And they never had me tested for allergies, so we wouldn't have known that. But later on, I actually figured out I was definitely allergic to milk, and they kept giving me milk, and that's why I ended up losing hearing and having all of the infections and problems that I had. So you have to understand, she knew that, and none of us ever said a word about it. So she gave me some kind of Kool-Aid lemonade type of a thing. She wanted to make sure that I didn't get the milk and I didn't make myself sick. And then she took all of us together, all of us kids, not my mom. My mom was sitting at the table, so she took all the rest of us kids together, and she said, I know your parents have been fighting. But I want to make sure that you guys know everything's going to be okay. Just always remember that you guys will be fine. And my dad came in, he had fixed the flat. He thanked her, we all thanked her, had a few bites of the cookies and hugged her and left. And about a month later, my dad was talking to me and my sister, and he said, you know, I would really like to go back and thank that lady. It was a really hot day. She took us in. She gave you guys something to drink, you know, we talked a little bit, that type of a thing. And he said, that was really nice of her. She didn't have to do that. And so anyway, we decided to jump in the car, and I wanted to go see her again too. She was awesome. So we all got into the car and drove straight to that house. I'll never forget what that house looked like. My dad knocked on the door several times and no one answered. And there was a guy next door. He was outside and he was watering his grass. So again, it was still summertime out here in California. Believe me, you're watering your grass. So he was out watering his grass. He said, hey, can I help you guys? And my dad said, yeah. He said, we were here about a month ago, and the old lady that lives here, she was just really, really nice. And we wanted to come back and thank her for what she did. And the guy had like the weirdest look on his face ever, and he said, I don't know how to tell you guys this, but that's impossible. He said, somebody owns this house, but no one has, and so they keep up the yard and everything, but he said, no one's lived in this house for years, so that's not possible. And believe me, that was the same house. So you figure that one out. How did she know what she knew? How did she know when we were coming? How did she know to set the table for the exact amount of people and have all the drinks ready? How did she know that I was allergic to milk? And how did she know what was going on? Because believe me, my parents never let on to that. They were fighting in the car, but that all stopped as soon as the car stopped. So she wouldn't have heard or seen any of that. So what do you think about that? Who knows? Maybe at some time you will run into angels unaware. Angels can look like people. So again, I've never forgotten about that. And if you have an encounter like that, please don't blow it off and think that that's nothing. You've been chosen out, and God has sent his angels to actually minister to you in some way. How awesome is that? The God who made everything. So take care, and there'll be more stories. I have a zillion. Red Viking Princess signing out.